Hi, welcome to Anchor Moments with Gina LeBenz. I'm Gina, and I'm here today, excuse me, with my sweet friend Randy Walters. Randy and I go back a few years. First met him at his wonderful restaurant he used to have in downtown Chandler called Wimpy's Paradise. And I want to tell you, stepping into his store was just like walking into your dad's house, sitting down and saying, "Hey, Pop, what's up?" So it's just perfect to have you here today. And tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Um, well, I just turned 65, just retired. Closed the restaurant after 10 years. Been in Arizona 42 years,
Wow.
43 years. Blessed with two daughters and three granddaughters. And just trying to do my part to make the world a happy, loving place.
You know, Randy really does do that. And he has been given lots of awards. And he had a lot of awards based on his hamburgers being really good and his hot dogs won awards. But he even got a special award called the Best Hugger in the Valley.
hmm
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. When my first restaurant was Pittsburgh Willie's, and I had customers would come in sometimes, and I'm very hands-on. I touch all the table, I greet all the customers, talk to all the customers. It's real important.
Mm-hmm.
Was my dad, when I was a little guy, my dad had a restaurant, but it was closed before I was born. But I remember talking to him, if I ever have a restaurant like yours, Dad, what do I have to do? And
Mm-hmm.
he said, it's real simple. Always serve the best food product available, and most important, make sure every customer knows they're the most important customer. So that's what I did. I greeted everybody, and there was some people who come in sometime. I realized early on in this business, a lot of times people go to eat for a lot of reasons besides just
Mm-hmm.
being hungry.
Yeah.
And people would come in, and they were heavy on the heart, and they wanted to be around other people,
Mm-hmm.
or they wanted to be alone and just nourish. And so I kind of started talking with people and hugging people. Um, and I always ask first, even now, do you need a hug? Oh, I'd love
Mm-hmm.
one. And it became quite a thing. And uh, some of the local news media picked up on it, did some stories on me, and there were some pretty amazing, as you would call them, anchor moments that
Yes,
occurred at the restaurant.
that's right. Now, Randy told me this story the other day, and I told him, "You absolutely need to come on my Anchor Moments show." I I wrote in my book, Anchor Moments: Hope, Healing, and Forgiveness. There's one chapter I wrote called "Angels on the Airplane," and what I was talking about in that chapter are times when you're called to be an angel, and sometimes to a stranger, and there's other times that people are called to be an angel to you.
hmm
And in my story, I tell about being on an airplane and um, being really tired and thinking I was going to sleep, and a lady turns to me and says, "Hey, um, why you going? Why you going to Florida? What And I said, "Well, Actually, I turned to her. I said, "I'm on a mission from God." That was when I was on the Blues Brothers kick.
Right, right,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So I said, "I'm on a mission from God," and it really was a godly mission. Uh, that I went on, and but the ladies laughed and thought that was funny, and I told them about why I was going, and then I turned to the lady in the middle and I said, "So why are you going to Florida?" And she said, "Well, I live in Florida," but she had a very sad trip that she had gone to be with a family member right before they passed.
hmm
And when I asked her, "Were you there when your family member took their last breath?" And she said yes. And the lady by the window said, "My family grew up owning a couple of funeral homes, and she herself was a nurse. And so on this trip, just with just asking, hey, why are you going to Florida?"
hmm
We were like two angels called to be with this grieving woman. And we ministered to her all the way to Florida. from Arizona to Florida, and it was so beautiful
Yeah.
and blessed, and just surprising because I didn't know that I was going to be called to help somebody
Right.
and to have to step into that angel role. But a lot of times we are called. And Randy told me about a time that he's not even well, just let you tell it.
Well, when I opened the restaurant every morning, I made a regular trip. I did all the shopping myself. I would always pass homeless people on the streets, and it was always the same people. I'd see them everywhere, and sometimes I stop and get them a burger or something like that. But this one day, I was about 3 miles south of the restaurant. I was at a red light, and a gentleman was crossing the street at the other side of the intersection, and it was June. It was about 110 that day. He had long gray sweatpants on, a long hoodie with the hoodie up, and he's very thin man. And everything he owned in the world was on a little backpack in his back. I'm assuming that's what it was. And I watched him cross, and then there was a bus stop there, and he walked towards the bus stop, and it was the first time really that something spoke to me and said, you need to stop and check on this guy, see if he needs food, water. And that never happened before. I've never felt that before. So the light changed, and as I turned, a city bus pulled up in front of the bus stop, and it blocked me from turning into the business that was there. So I continued on. I looked in the rearview mirror, and I saw the gentleman walking past the bus stop. And I said, I should turn around. But I didn't. I went on to work, to open the restaurant. And it kind of sat on me that I didn't respond to what was telling me to stop and check on this individual. But I opened the restaurant, went about my business, had my usual lunch rush, and I was the only one in the restaurant at that point. Everybody was gone. The lunch rush was over, and I'm sitting at the counter, and I look, and there was a big front window of the restaurant. I'm looking in the window at me, over the top of the curtains, was this gentleman, just staring.
Wow.
And
the same one.
The same one. And it was, at that moment, I thought, it's like God said, okay, you screwed up the first time. I'm going to give you a second chance to serve this angel. At that time, I didn't perceive it as an angel. I just thought it was a coincidence.
Right.
But he'd walked 3 miles. There's 25 restaurants downtown. And he chose to stare into and I'd never seen him before. So
Wow, so that was... Wow, so you'd seen him 3 miles away?
Yeah, it was 3 miles south walked the whole way. And he's just staring right at my window. And I jumped up right away, and I ran to the front door, and he kind of looked at me, and I said, "Are you hungry, sir?" And he says, in a very small, meek voice, and the guy was filthy. There was dirt. You could tell he hadn't bathed, his nails and everything. He says, I'm hungry, but I don't have any money. I said, that's okay. I said, I have outdoor seating. And I said, just have a seat right there. So I went inside, and we made him up a couple hot dogs and drinks, and I brought him out to him. And he sat down, and I went back inside the restaurant, but I was at a vantage point where I could look out the window without him seeing me, and I watched him eat, and he just devoured, and they were big quarter-pound hot dogs. He ate them both, the chips, potato salad, and the drink. And so when he was just about done, I went out and checked on him, and I said, how is everything? He said, in 10 years, it was the biggest compliment I ever got. He said to me, this is the best hot dog I've ever had. He said, this is some of the best food I've ever had. And I said, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to run inside, grab a couple cold bottles of water. He can put them in his backpack so he'll have water for later. So I turned, went in, grabbed the bottles, and went back out. We're probably talking 10 seconds at the most.
His restaurant was a teeny tiny little restaurant.
Yeah. To the front door to the water to back out there was 10 minutes.
10 seconds.
10 seconds. I'm sorry, 10 seconds.
That's okay.
And my restaurant was in the middle of this plaza. And so there was, 30 yards this way, 30 yards that way, and then went out to the main street. The gentleman had absolutely no time. I mean, I saw the guy walking. I saw how he moved. He had no time. He would have had to literally jog as fast as he could, or run as fast as he could, to be out of my line of sight that quickly. And I walked out, and I'm looking, and I didn't see him anywhere.
Wow.
And there was a barber next door that was a barber shop, and he was out there having a smoke. And I said, "Did you see the gentleman that was eating here?" He said, "Oh yeah, the guy with the grass." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Did you see him leave?" He said, "No." So, but I did see him sitting there eating. Scotty was out there.
Wow.
When he would have left also. So he would have passed Scotty. I think Scotty would have saw something.
Wow.
But he didn't. So it was very impactful, very powerful. And there was no doubt in my mind that I served an angel.
Wow. Wow, Randy.
And I was blessed to get a second chance.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times we feel something, we don't know if it's God speaking to us or just a crazy idea that came in our head. And we have the choice to either act on it or not act on it. And I chose not to, and it was almost like God said, "All right, I'm going to give you one more chance."
Wow.
So I got a second chance to do the right thing, and it was life-changing for me. You know, that's when I realized kindness and caring and hugs can really make a difference in maybe not everyone's life, but someone's life.
That's right. So was it after that you started that special program? He had a special program that when you went into his restaurant, he had a special fund that people knew about. So you could order your hamburger and hot dog, and you can give Randy an extra couple bucks, and he'd stick it in this fund. And then anytime somebody who was homeless or veterans, you also gave it to veterans, he would be able to offer them a free meal without going broke himself. And it also, and not only did it help with that, but he gave other people the opportunity to be an angel to a stranger for with whatever you had. You could put 20 bucks in there, you could put 100 bucks in there, you could put 50 cents in there. It didn't matter, but it created a sense of community. And I remember you and Randy is just the sweetie pie of social media. He has so many followers, and I'm one of them. I love reading his posts because he warms my heart almost every day with something that he has posted. But he would let us know after he'd serve somebody a meal, and he would thank us as little angel investors, small-time angel investors, but that we got to be angel investors to his special Pay It Forward program.
Yeah, I think that is when we started after that. And it was really, and the beauty of it is there was no forms to fill out, there was no programs to enter. If I would see someone outside rooting through the garbage, I would just go up to them, "You hungry?" Yeah. Or customers would come in and say, "There's a guy across the street that's sleeping. Can I take him a hamburger?" And we'd box it up and give it to him. So it was good. It was good. Blessed a lot of people.
Yeah, it did. And it blessed a lot of people who were givers for it, too.
Oh, absolutely. That's the beauty of when you do something like that, when you hug somebody. You get the hug right back.
Isn't that amazing?
So, yeah, it is. It is.
It is amazing. I think it's amazing that God created hugs, because that is exactly what that does.
And the hugs really became almost as important to me at the restaurant as the hamburgers and hot dogs, if you will, because that's a lot of people came in just for the hugs.
Yeah, because he had a sign he put out on the sidewalk. He didn't have it in the beginning, but later he added a sign that said "Free hugs."
Free hugs.
Free hugs.
And one of the local newspapers did a story on me. I was really blessed about the hugs. And I'll tell you this other story real quick. And it came out that morning, and I had a picture of me on the front of the paper with a particular shirt and hat on, which I happened to be wearing that day, even though it was weeks after they did the story. And I'm sitting at the counter again, and this gentleman walks in, and he makes a beeline to me. And I said, "Can I help you?" And he said, "Yeah, I need a hug." So I went up, and he hugged me really tight. And I always ask people if it's okay to hug them first, and I let them control how long the hug lasts.
Yes.
Because they need it maybe for different reasons, or maybe So he held, it was a long, tight hug, and he let go, and I said, "You okay?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Can I get a hamburger?" And I said, "Sure." So he sat down at the table, and we brought him his hamburger, and I had other customers come in. He took one bite of the hamburger, and I thought, uh-oh, something's wrong. But I watched him while he was waiting. He was very pensive, and he was nervous and doing this kind of stuff all the time. So I said, sir, is everything okay? And he says, everything's fine. Can I get a to-go box and a piece of paper and a pen? And I said, sure. So I brought everything to him, and I went back, and I'm taking care of customers.
Yeah.
And he scribbled something on the thing, and he turned it upside down, placed a pen on top of it, and he left. And because I was engaged with a current customer, I didn't get a chance to
Oh, to say goodbye.
say goodbye. I walked out so quickly.
Yeah.
So it was 2 or 3 minutes after he left when I had a chance to go to the table, and I picked the pen up, and I turned the ticket over, and I still have that ticket. I'll have it forever. Excuse me. He said, I just came for the hugs. He'd read the article in the paper that morning. That's what brought him. And he said, I just came for the hugs, trying to find reasons to live.
Oh.
One day at a time. And that was another, again, using your anchor moment, when I realized that these hugs aren't frivolous. They're real, they're important, they're powerful.
They're a chance for you to be the hands and arms of Christ.
Yeah.
You know, sharing love.
Yeah. And you know, Gina, even now, I tell people, we're such a media society. You know, you pass people on the street, they don't make eye contact. Everybody's looking at their phone, and you never know. This is what this gentleman made me realize that, plus another one, that you have no idea that person you pass on the street what they're going through.
That's right.
You know, they could be on their way home to kill themselves, which this one girl told me she was.
Oh,
and by you making eye contact with them and just saying hello, you have at least validated their existence. They know they're not invisible. Somebody took the time to say hello. And as a society, we're getting so far away from just common greetings. Hi, how are you? Hello, nice to see you. And it's powerful.
It's so powerful.
It's powerful.
Do you know, my mother-in-law was sick for a long time before she passed away. And her last year, she said, Gina, I can't do things for people like I used to. And she said, but I can still do one thing. And I said, what's that, Marilyn? And she said, I can smile. She said, when I go to the grocery store, I smile at the clerk who checks me out. And when I go to my doctors, I'm at the hospital and the doctors and the nurses come in, I smile at them. Because I know there's a possibility that might be the only smile they get that day.
Yeah.
And that has sat in my heart.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful how important that is.
Oh,
and so even when she was so sick, she really couldn't feel like she could do other things for people. She could still give people dignity.
She found a way to be kind.
Yeah.
And to touch people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, we talk about signs and signals, and this other lady that came into me, and the reason I mentioned it earlier is if you may pass someone that's on their way to kill themselves.
Right.
This girl come walking in, and she saw my sign out front, but the whole backstory is what's amazing. She was on her way home that moment to take her life, and she was walking down the main street, and we're like the next street over, all the business buildings. She'd never been in that little plaza where we were, and she said when she got parallel to which was my store, something told her to cross the street.
Wow.
And she said, I just listened to it. I was on my way to kill myself. She came across the street. She saw the sign in front of the restaurant that says free hugs. Excuse me.
Yeah.
She came in, and she says, are you the guy that gives the hugs? And I said, yes. And she fell into my arms and just sobbed uncontrollably.
Oh.
And I held her, and she pulled away, and tears are streaming down her face. And I said, are you okay? And she says, I'm okay now. And I says, do you need some help? Do you want to sit and talk? Can I call someone for you?
Yeah.
She says, no. She says, I just want you to, and she looked up at me, and she said, I just want you to know I had just left my job. I was on my way to my apartment, and I was going to kill myself. And something told me to cross the street here, and I saw your free hug sign.
Oh.
She says, so she came in for a hug, and she shared that with me. And I said, you sure there's nothing I can do for you? She said, no, you already have, thank you. and she left. Now, both of these people that had mentioned suicide to me, I don't know what the disposition was. I never had, because it was one of those moments that just happened, but was incredibly impactful, and I want to believe
that they didn't.
That they didn't, but at least for a moment, at their darkest hours, they felt kindness and love and compassion. So maybe that's the best, I could have done for them, or that's what God decided they needed, or that was the sign God wanted to show them. So,
if anyone's out in the audience right now watching this show, if your life feels really sad right now, and it's hard for you to get up and move on, please don't hurt yourself.
Asking for help's the hardest thing in the world to do.
Yeah.
But I learned this too from my business. Everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to be a helper. Mm-hmm. But if they don't know you need help, they can't help you. So bury your pride, because I used to always say, if I know you need help, mm-hmm. I'm there to help you. If you need help and I don't know it, I can't be there for you. So collectively, as a human race, we have to be able to say, I need help.
And there are people who volunteer to help with that. If you're watching this show right now, that means that you have internet, that you can go on to Google. Go on to Google and put what's the number for the suicide prevention hotline. Yeah. There's even a way that you can text. If you're more into texting versus talking on the phone, right. You can text somebody who would be willing to help you. Right. And I know I do have the number in the United States. I have it, I think, in my 14th chapter. Listed, but anyway, you can Google and find it. But there are people that want to listen. There are people who'd be willing to give you a hug.
Yeah, it's always so sad when someone takes their own life, and then people say afterwards, I wish they'd have come to me. I wish they had known they were hurting. So that's why it's really important. You may be in a good place now. You may find yourself in a bad place an hour from now, a week from now, a year from now. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be able to say, I need help. It's not weakness.
Exactly. No,
it takes more strength to
to
ask for help than it does to just be quiet and suffer silently.
Exactly. And then I have just one other little piece of advice, because sometimes I fall in the hole and I get depressed. It doesn't happen very often, but I know of 3 different times that I fell in the hole. And one of them was my journey out was what I wrote in my Anchor Moment book. Mm-hmm. But one of the best ways to get out of the hole is to do something for someone else, because it brings a little bit of joy back into you, and it can be tiny. If I'm having a bad day and I'm at the grocery store, I will let whoever's in line behind me cut in front of me, and I'll say, "Oh, would you like to go ahead?" And they could have a big cart full of stuff, or they could just have 1 or 2 things. And when they smile, they're like, "Wow, thanks," because everyone's in such a hurry these days. They're like, "Wow, thank you." And I'm like, "Oh, no problem." But just even that little bit, it just makes me feel a little bit happier. Yeah. So if I'm sad, I know just to do just a little something, for somebody, puts a little bit of joy back into my heart.
You know what, Gina? One of my favorite phrases, and I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but it harkens back to the old days when videotapes came out. And when you returned them, they used to always say, "Be kind, rewind."
Yeah.
And I think that applies to us as a society now, just in our general daily going about.
Wow.
You should always keep telling yourself, be kind, rewind. Do it again and again and again.
Wow, that could be your second book. That's a good title for a book.
Be kind, rewind.
Be kind, rewind. I like that. Yeah. Well, Randy, we only have 3 minutes left, and I always end every Anchor Moment show praying with my guest. Mm-hmm. And I would like to pray with you. And you can pray for anybody that's on your heart. And we'll also be praying for the audience. And audience, we'd love for you to be praying with us too. Can I have your hand?
Absolutely.
Want to start? I know somebody
Sure.
that's on your heart, and I want to pray for her too.
Yeah. I want to, kids and adults that have a rare disease, they're called zebras, and specifically, the Autoimmune Deficiency Foundation has adopted the zebra as their mascot. And I have a granddaughter that's suffering from that. And for everyone out there that is suffering, living with, or knows someone that has a rare disease that they're battling, or existing with, or living with, or fighting, I just pray that
God, please help them. And please help their doctors. Please help them find some cures. Please help relieve their suffering.
and don't give up, because we do get second chances, sometimes third chances. So if you haven't found the right doctor, keep looking.
That's right. And God, please bless all the doctors out there that are willing to work so hard to try to find those cures and to try to take care of those who are sick. And please bless Kara. Please bless everyone in our audience right now who may be suffering from an illness or feel sad and lonely, God.
And the caregivers.
Yeah, and their caregivers.
They need the prayers too.
Yep. Please bless the caregivers too. Amen.
Amen.
It has been such a joy to be with you, Randy. And I'm trying to talk Randy into writing his own book. He has it in his heart. He knows some of the chapters to be able to tell these stories. And we're going to have him back on our show when he gets that book done, so that way we can promote his book too.
I'd be honored to.
Well, thank you so much, Randy.
Thank you, Gina.
And everybody,
Be kind and rewind.
be kind and rewind. There you go. And hold on to those anchor moments.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
The preceding program was brought to you by the Holy Spirit Broadcasting Network, HSBN Television.